Right, I decided to start recording this after I'd already taken it apart. The issue with the Union cutter grinder, tool and cutter grinder, is that when you turn the wheel to move the workpiece towards the grinding wheel, the screw is the wrong hand. It's a right hand thread and it's supposed to be a left hand thread. So the problem is, you quickly wind it to the left expecting the carriage to come towards you, and it doesn't, it goes towards the cutter. So you turn it left thinking it's going to come towards you, you end up mashing the cutter into the grinding wheel, which is not good in any way, in any situation. So I've ordered a screw. This is a cut off, I've already cut it off. The screw is also bastardised, which confused me a little bit because the dial was incremented for metric. It's got like 0, 0.5, 1, 1.5 and then 0 again. So each rotation is full rotation is 2 millimeters of travel. But the screw is a 1/2 inch diameter, so it's an acne thread or trapezoidal. It could be trapezoidal, 2 millimeter pitch, but 1/2 inch diameter. So because you're changing the screw, you also need to change the nut. That's another Boxford, Union cutter grinder underneath there with a different head on it. I don't know what the hell head that is, but obviously it's been replaced. It's got two thin wheels straight on. Well, it's supposed to have two. It's got one. It's supposed to have another one. No, sorry, that's just a pulley. So it's just got the one disc grinder. But this is what I mean. Look, you turn it to the right. This isn't very good, Mark. Very professional. You turn it left. I don't know if you can see the carriage is slowly moving back in towards. So yeah, that's the idea. That's the modification. At some point, when I get my second shed up, I'm going to restore that one, and I have two of them, and I have two grinding stones on one for one type of work, and then a grinding stone on that for another, or change the head. Whenever you get a slide of any type, you expect to turn the wheel left and the carriage comes to the left, or whatever you're moving comes towards you. You expect to turn it right and it moves away. Now if the screw stays where it is, and whatever you want to move moves independently of the screw, it needs to be a left hand thread. Look, there's a left hand, some goes north east, so that's the way the thread goes, northeast. The thread went that way, then it's a right hand thread. This, the carriage did slide moves with the screw, so that's a right hand thread. As you expect, you turn a bolt to the right, it moves in. Same as that'll be a left hand thread, that'll be a right, because as that screw turns to the right it moves that direction. That's the same. That'll be a left hand thread, that'll be a right hand thread. So yeah, you get the gist anyway. So out of all the machines that I've got, this is the only one that goes the opposite direction. So that's a reason. I'm planning on doing this. It's different to what most people do. Most people just get some bar stock and just make the entire lead screw in one. I'm sounding different because I'm different than that. So I'm planning on doing this. You notice this screw is longer. I've cut this longer. I've got these. I found some rusty high tensile bolts in a lay-by quite a few of them, damn long, and you know what I mean, it's EN19T, so I thought the three, might as well pick them up. I'm going to de-rust them, obviously wire wheel it with that, to get the rust off before they go on the lathe, but you can generally tell the idea what I'm going to do. I'm going to turn this close to diameter, but not totally, and one thing that you've got to think of is have excess, because I'm going to grip that at the end of the chuck. I'm explaining it rather than showing it, because showing, everyone knows how machining is done. But I'm going to grip it at the end, get a live centre, centre pop it, centre hold it with a live centre, turn the OD down to wider than what I actually need. That's 5/8 diameter, which is 15.876, something like that, millimetres. So I'm going to turn that diameter 18 millimetres all the way, leaving a section open because that's about 21 millimetres. Drill and ream to 10 millimetres, for about 40 millimetres diameter, length, for this to push into. JB weld plus pin it, and then when that's set, come back, hold the bar in a collet chuck so that's then sticking out, and then turn the OD how it's supposed to be. And the reason why I'm doing it that way around is, obviously, if you're doing that, sticking it in and pinning it, the chance of getting that concentric in the actual bore is very slim. So the idea is you hold the screw and you turn this end the way that'll be, so it'll be like that. So you'll be turning this part concentric to the screw. And the reason why you want it longer is because you've already centre popped that end, haven't you? You've already centre drilled that, so when that's on and it's glued and you put it back in again, that centre point will be different. So you need to turn that section down, turn that centre hole off, and then make another centre to turn this OD. So that's what I'm going to do. The nut, instead of making an entire new block, I'm just going to bore that out to a tight press fit that in, and then use a couple of Dutch keys either side to make sure that that doesn't come out or rotate, and then just put the block back in. The block has got 2 pins, doesn't matter which way it's orientated, I've already checked, so it's not like I'm gonna, or you, if you've got one of these and you want to do the mod, it's not like you're going to put it on back to front. I've already checked, I put it in that direction, the holes line up on the other side, put it in that direction and then the holes line up as well, and that's bang on. I've already measured it, that's bang on centre to the block, so it's not like it's offset to one side. So yeah, that's the plan. Right, this is the part with the screw glued into it. It's about 40mm depth, somewhere around there. I'll turn it on. The other one's slightly worse than this. You can see it bobbing a little bit. So it's definitely not running concentric with the screw anyway. The screw doesn't look like it's concentric, but it is. It's just because the bit of dirt on it. If you look at the threads are, the top crest of the threads are running pretty concentric. It's just the inside of the threads that's got a bit of dirt on it, so it looks like it's out, but it's not. The thread itself is running pretty straight, as straight as the collet will let you anyway. But the part is jumping up and down, and it's also got that. It's got a little bit of a rock this way, even though it was reamed. So that's the reason why you turn it oversized and then you turn it to the actual proper dimensions once it's on the screw. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it so it's running concentric, and then get it on the mill and pin it, and then turn it to its full dimensions. Right, the job is done. If you're going to pin something, make sure you check that the pins that you use aren't through hardened. I thought there were soft pins or case hardened at worst, but they weren't. They were through hardened. So as the tools come along, it's like bang, 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 and then second pass it just smashed the insert to pieces. So I've got the grinder, Dremel, and I basically scalloped both sides, and then turned, and then when I was getting close again I scalloped again, so it's not that much of an issue, and it's a bit of a benefit doing it that way anyway. You won't see it, but when you grind it you'll put a burr on the top of the pin on both sides, so there's no chance at all of that pin slipping. But that's turned. There's no through hole, there's no centre hole there anymore. It was oversized by quite a bit, weren't it? I took it down to get rid of the centre hole initially when I turned it round, and I needed to turn the diameter. And I put another centre hole in, and then I took that end off. I've still got to run a file over these because I put a couple of flats on them for the set screws, because you've got the two collars that go on, and then the hand wheel, and the hand wheel's got a set screw. What I'm going to do is as well, the dial, it's got a grub screw on it that you can loosen off and turn the dial to reset it, and then tighten it again. So I'm going to make a couple of brass plugs, a couple of small brass plugs to put in the holes before underneath set screws. The block, I've drilled it through to make sure. I mean, okay, it was a 1/2 inch thread and it's now 10mm, so the chance of it rubbing is pretty slim, but I thought I'd run a end mill through, not a drill, because it's bronze, and the intermittent with bronze, it might rip it out the vise. So I did it with an end mill, cleared the thread, then I bored. Now, when you're boring bronze, if you've never bored bronze before, or drilled bronze, or worked with bronze, make sure there's absolutely zero rubbing, because you'll work hard on it. I got the boring head to bore it out, and I thought this isn't cutting very well. It's just rubbing all the way down the bore. The reason why is because the carbide boring bar that I used, I'd somehow chipped it, and I didn't check before I put it on the mill, so it rubbed the inside of the bore, what I was trying to do, and then work hardened it, so it just would not cut at all. So I changed it to a carbide. That's a boring bar off a lathe that I wasn't using, so I chopped it down for a little bit more rigidity, because I didn't need it that long. So I just chopped it down, used that, and I just basically did a deep cut on it to cut that work hardened section off, and it cut a lot smoother. I put a couple of keys in it. Now this nut is 22mm diameter. I bored it to 21.95, and then I used a hydraulic press to press this in. So technically I didn't actually need to put 2 Dutch keys in, because that needed a hydraulic press to press it in, but I thought I'd said that I'd do it, and if I don't, and then that comes loose, I'm going to kick myself for not doing it. So while it was on the mill, I might as well have just done it. You've got to watch out when you put the Dutch keys in, because you'll see the bore in the nut and you'll think, yeah, I've got plenty of space to put an M8 or whatever Dutch key in both sides. You haven't, because the bore is a lot thinner. It looks thinner than what it actually is. So 22mm diameter, it's 10mm bar, so it's 16 divided by 2, 8. No. 22 take away 10 is 12, so it's only a 6mm wall, solid wall. These are M6, so between the threads, threaded hole on both sides, you got 3mm solid section of steel. But yeah, that's it. Looks good. Time to reconstruct. Right, the good goes on the last. Well, I say last. Code goes on. Whenever you take something apart, you've got to take screws out. When you took the item off that you need to take off, put the screws in the actual holes so you don't lose them. So I'll put the gib on now just loosely. Get my head in the way more than likely. Just loosely, so when I'm working on it, it doesn't just tip off. Just 2 screws. If I say it loose, so I might as well just tighten them up. I don't think that's the right Allen key. I'll do that in a bit when it's not recording. It's stable enough. I've already put the nut in. Then comes the bed. That's easy to stick on. The way around lock. Just slide that on. Excuse me. Got black hands already. See what screws my head up. So left hand thread, so you tighten it in by turning it left. Right, fastening collar. Got to get this in so the so that zero mark and the oiler hole is at the top. Also it's got a recess just there, but there isn't one on the other side, so the recess has got to go on the inside. Two screws in. I think that's the right one. Yeah. Hate hex keys. And the dial. No, because we've got to make another dial. increments on it as well. Because we've changed the hand, you're now turning it left anti-clockwise to move it towards you, clockwise to move it away from you. The numbers are wrong. So at the moment it says 1 0.5 0, but it needs to be the other way around. It needs to be, instead of that being 1.5, it needs to be 0.5. Instead of 1, yeah, that one's right. Then it should be 1.5 0. If you get what I mean, the numbers are opposite. It's a little bit too tight, I think. I might have this section here. This section here, I might have made it a little bit too thick. Might need to be a little bit shallower. This collar here pinches that against the casting. I think what's happened, that's a little bit too tight, so that is now solid. I'll soon know. Loosen these two off. Yeah, that turns freer. Pinch those up. Doesn't move. So I'll construct it. In fact, you know the crack anyway, you know how to put this on. 2 set screws there, so it needs 2 brass plugs putting in before you tighten it down on this section here. And then the handle will go on. Then the grub screw will tighten down onto the flat. And then that'll be the job done. Once I get that sorted, thin down a little bit, I'll come back to you and show it in motion. Right, I'll call that another job complete. Turn it left, comes towards you. Right, is away from you. Exactly, turn it anti-clockwise, goes left, clockwise turns right, thankfully. So if that went the other way around, it's a rack and pinion, so I had to get another gear in there somehow. And that's what I mean about the dials. I'll just zoom in a little bit. When you're turning right, so you feed it in towards the cutter. Numbers are the wrong way around, look. 1.5, that should be 0.5. That one. And that 1.5. 0. So seeing that I'm going to make another dial anyway, you can't just turn that round. The obvious thing would be to turn it round. It would be facing the right way round, but then it won't line up with a 0. Seeing that I'm going to make another dial anyway, I might make one a little bit more high res, but I'm not thinking too hard about that. Because that'd mean double the increments. With such a small dial, it'll be hard to see. So I might as well just indicate, instead of making a new dial, just if you need anything more fine than that, than the increments that's on it at the moment, just get an indicator or put a draw on it. Job done.